It wasn't one rule. It was a trap with 1,000 hooks. Today, 33 dumb prohibition mistakes people kept making, nationwide. Doctors wrote whiskey prescriptions, and grape bricks accidentally made wine. We'll hit the wild loopholes, then the crackdowns nobody expected. Stay for the last one, because it's honestly insane. Industrial alcohol had to be denatured with toxic additives. People collapsed after one drink, and doctors blamed government alcohol. In the mid-1920s, Treasury ordered harsher industrial denaturing. Bootleggers stole factory alcohol, then redistilled it for speakeasies. Officials required methanol and other poisons, making diversion deadly. New York Examiner Charles Norris called it slow-motion mass poisoning. Toxicologist Alexander Gettler tested bodies, finding methanol again and again. Meanwhile, bars whispered it's safe now, right before another funeral. Officials claimed it was deterrence, but the deaths kept rising. Families watched hospital wards fill, while agents argued paperwork. 2. Factories needed federal permits just to use pure alcohol. A missing permit could shut a factory's doors by noon. During Prohibition, the Bureau of Internal Revenue controlled industrial alcohol. Even the jet companies needed paperwork to buy high-proof spirits. Paint, ink, and medicine makers filed forms like tax returns. Inspectors could arrive unannounced, checking locks, gauges, and storage rooms. One suspicious barrel meant hearings, fines, or a revoked license. Managers begged Washington for approvals while orders piled up unsent. Bootleggers loved that chaos, bribing clerks to lose forms. So lawful alcohol became rarer than illegal liquor in some towns. 3. Alcohol for perfume and paint was allowed, not drinking. The Volstead rules allowed alcohol for perfume, paint, and varnish. So companies shipped toilet water and shellac thinner nationwide. In New York and Chicago, some bottles vanished before reaching workshops. Agents raided back rooms where workers tested solvents with suspicious smiles. Hair tonic brands quietly upped alcohol, then advertised refreshing daily. Hospitals saw poisonings when denatured additives turned cosmetics into danger. Here's the weird part. Legality depended on the intended use. Only the drinker became the criminal, even without selling anything. 4. Beer turned illegal once it passed 0.5% alcohol. A pint could become contraband with one extra sip strength. The Volstead Act treated anything over 0.5% as intoxicating. Big brewers like Jacob Ruppert fought the definition in court. Meanwhile, bartenders served near beer that tasted like regret. Customers complained it was flat, sweet, and barely foamed. Some places spiked it secretly, risking raids and smashed barrels. In 1933, Congress later allowed 3.2 beer as a preview. That tiny decimal had wrecked jobs, recipes, and whole breweries. All because the law measured morality with a lab number. 5. Drinking was legal. Selling it was the crime. People toasted at home, while bartenders got hauled downtown. National Prohibition banned making and selling, not every form of possession. If you bought bottles before 1920, you could keep them. So wealthy families stockpiled cases, then hosted perfectly legal parties. Guests sipped quietly while a servant watched the door nervously. Across town, the same drink in a speakeasy meant arrests. Prohibition agents chased sellers, while drinkers shrugged, not illegal. That gap turned every purchase into a private, guilt-free trophy. It's like banning umbrellas, then blaming everyone for rain. 6. Doctors could prescribe whiskey like it was medicine. A sore throat could suddenly require whiskey, signed by a doctor. Volstead rules let physicians prescribe liquor as legitimate medical treatment. In cities like New York, clinics filled with patients overnight. Some doctors skipped exams, writing forms from a desk drawer. Pharmacies stamped the slips, then sold bourbon like cough syrup. Walgreens in Chicago added soda fountains, keeping crowds looking innocent. Government agents watched the line, counting bottles by the paper trail. The irony is, Prohibition created a new kind of medical hustle. When repeal came, many patients lost their favorite prescription fast. 7. 1 p.m. every 10 days was the legal limit. One rule tried to ration whiskey, like wartime sugar coupons. Federal regulations capped patients at about 1 pint every 10 days. The American Medical Association complained the cap made no sense. Heavy drinkers simply doctor shopped, collecting signatures across town daily. Some prescriptions claimed anxiety or insomnia, vague enough to pass. Agents checked dates, hunting people who refilled too quickly. Doctors risked losing licenses if their numbers looked suspicious. So everyone learned math. 10 days, 1 pint, repeat. It didn't stop drinking, it just made drinking bureaucratic. 8. Pharmacies sold whiskey over the counter with proper forms. A pharmacy counter became a bar, powered by government forms. To buy medicinal liquor, you needed an official prescription blank. Many states used federal Form 1403, stamped and numbered. The doctor wrote a diagnosis, then the pharmacist checked every line. Bottles sat behind the counter like contraband, yet totally legal. In Chicago, customers ordered whiskey, then bought a milkshake nearby. Agents sometimes waited outside, comparing faces to signature books. A smudged date could mean confiscation, even with real medicine. So pharmacists learned to fear paperwork more than drunken brawls. 9. Pharmacists had to log every prescription like a crime. One careless entry could bring auditors through your back door. Pharmacists had to record each sale in bound ledgers. They tracked names, dates, quantities, and the doctor's license number. Some stores kept duplicate forms like Form 1455 for inspections. Agents compared inventory to paperwork, searching for impossible totals. A missing bottle suggested theft or a quiet side business. Competitors sometimes tipped off police just to hurt a rival. Meanwhile, customers acted sick, practicing coughs in the mirror. Prohibition turned bookkeeping into detective work every single day. 10. Clergy needed permits to buy sacramental wine. A rabbi could face paperwork just to pour ritual wine. Prohibition still allowed sacramental wine for churches and synagogues. But clergy had to apply for federal permits through Treasury. Pastors listed quantities, dates, and where the wine would be stored. In New York, some congregations suddenly reported very thirsty ceremonies. Agents investigated, worrying that communion shipments fed speakeasies instead. Honest priests kept barrels locked, treating keys like holy relics. Others forged letters, and the scandal embarrassed entire denominations. Even worship had to pass a government smell test. 11. Churches had to record every drop of communion wine. Some churches logged wine like a bank counts cash. Permits came with conditions: record purchases, use, and remaining stock. Treasury agents could inspect cellars, so congregations stored bottles carefully. A deacon might measure ounces after service, then sign a ledger. If numbers didn't match, the whole church looked guilty. Some pastors reduced servings, joking about dry communion with nervous laughs. Meanwhile, bootleggers tried buying permits, pretending to start fake chapels. Officials tightened rules again, and paperwork grew thicker than hymnals. The lesson felt absurd. Salvation, yes, but please sign here. 12. You could keep pre-prohibition booze in your home legally. The rich drank openly at home, while raids hit the poor. Before January 1920, Americans rushed to stockpile legal liquor. In New York, Fifth Avenue apartments added private cabinets and locks. Hosts kept invoices to prove the bottles predated Prohibition. Dinner parties turned into tastings, with guests comparing labels quietly. Meanwhile, bootleggers copied those labels, selling fakes to new money. One bad bottle could expose the whole stash and ruin reputations. Police often ignored the wealthy because warrants needed clear evidence. So private cupboards became many speakeasies, protected by receipts. 13. Transporting alcohol could get your car seized and sold. One trunk run could cost your car and your freedom. Prohibition laws allowed forfeiture of vehicles used to transport liquor. Agents in Detroit watched bridges, stopping Fords and Packards alike. A hidden bottle under the seat could trigger a full seizure. Cars were auctioned, sometimes to the same smugglers using new plates. Drivers learned decoys, but a busted taillight could end everything. Courts argued ownership, especially when a cousin borrowed the car. Families begged judges, saying the automobile was their livelihood. It made alcohol traffic feel like playing poker with your house. 14. Speakeasy buildings could be padlocked shut for a year. A single raid could seal your storefront shut for months. Courts used padlock injunctions to close nuisance liquor premises. Under the Volstead Act, some buildings were closed for a year. In Manhattan, landlords panicked when tenants ran secret bars upstairs. Even if the owner claimed ignorance, the locks still went on. Famous spots like New York's 21 Club built traps in tunnels. But a padlocked door killed business instantly, no matter the gimmicks. Neighbors cheered the raid, then missed the music at night. The punishment wasn't jail, it was silence, nailed to the door. 15. Possessing an unregistered still meant automatic forfeiture. A copper still could vanish in minutes, smashed and hauled away. Even before Prohibition, distilling required registration under federal tax law. During the 1920s, agents hunted unregistered stills across Appalachia. In Kentucky hollows, lookouts watched ridgelands for men with badges. If a still lacked papers, forfeiture was automatic, no debate. Courts seized the equipment, and sometimes the land it sat on. Some families rebuilt overnight because store-bought liquor cost a fortune. Others quit after one raid, terrified of prison and debt. The cat-and-mouse game turned rural cooking into federal business. 16. Home fruit juice and cider could stay legal under 0.5%. Kitchens became mini wineries, as long as the drink stayed weak. Volstead rules let households make non-intoxicating cider and fruit juice. The limit was huge, sometimes described as up to 200 gallons. Apple regions in New England saw presses running again in autumn. But if it fermented too far, that same barrel became evidence. Neighbors argued over taste, because too good meant too alcoholic. Some families diluted batches, then lied and called it juice. Agents rarely tested every jug, yet rumors traveled faster than cider. So fall harvest came with a new fear: bubbles. 17. Cooking wine stayed legal because it was heavily salted. Dinner ingredients doubled as secret booze, but they tasted awful. They often salted it heavily and labeled it for kitchen use. But desperate drinkers strained it, grimaced, and chased any warmth. Speakeasies even cooked with it, hiding alcohol behind garlic and sauce. Police found bottles in pantries, beside flour and canned peaches. Judges struggled. Was it food or an illegal drink supply? Manufacturers kept selling it because every home needed cooking. Prohibition made bad flavor the price of staying inside rules. 18. Selling grapes was legal. Fermenting them into wine wasn't. Trainloads of grapes rolled east, and basements turned purple. Italian and Jewish neighborhoods bought crates like holiday supplies. Then the same families quietly fermented them, pretending it was juice. In Modesto, the Gallo family learned wine work during those years. The law played word games, allowing fruit juice but punishing alcohol. Agents followed grape shipments, then listened for bubbling barrels at night. Some households planted extra vines because stores kept selling out. So grapes became a legal product with an illegal destiny. 19. Grape bricks came with labels telling you not to ferment. A grape brick came with a warning that sounded suspiciously helpful. During Prohibition, Vine-Glo sold concentrated grape blocks for home use. The label told buyers not to add yeast or store it dark. It also warned not to leave it for about 20 days. Because, oops, it might accidentally ferment into real wine. Families read that and winked, then cleared space in cupboards. Grape growers stayed afloat, while enforcement agents stared at groceries. When raids happened, people claimed innocence, pointing at the warning. It was the strangest recipe, a don't that taught everyone. 20. Private clubs let members store liquor in personal lockers. Private clubs stayed classy by turning liquor into personal property. Members stored bottles in lockers, labeled with names like trophies. The club served mixers, ice, and glassware, not the alcohol. That loophole let places in New York and Chicago keep buzzing. Guests drank their own whiskey while orchestra music covered whispers. Agents hated it because proving a sale was suddenly harder. Some clubs kept strict logs, like banks tracking safe deposit boxes. Others looked the other way, and lockers multiplied overnight. Prohibition didn't kill nightlife, it just made it members only. 21. Restaurants sold setups, ice, mixers, and a glass. Restaurants sold the glass, and you supplied the illegal courage. A setup meant ice, soda, and mixers for your bottle. In places like New Jersey, diners served setups with a wink. Customers arrived carrying flasks, then ordered ginger ale and lemons. Waiters never touched the liquor, but everyone watched it happen. Police needed proof of a sale, so they often left frustrated. Some owners got greedy, charging extra for cups in private rooms. That drew raids, because the line between setup and speakeasy blurred. It was the most American compromise, pretend, pay, and sip. 22. Soda parlors replaced bars to stay legal on paper. Saloons disappeared, and suddenly everyone was hanging around soda fountains. During Prohibition, drugstores became social hubs, especially in Chicago. Charles Walgreen expanded Walgreens with lunch counters and sweet malts. In 1922, employee Ivar Popkolsen added ice cream to malts. Teenagers sipped milkshakes where their parents once ordered whiskey. But adults still met there, swapping addresses for tonight's speakeasy. Police liked the wholesome look, which made the disguise perfect. So a cherry soda could be a cover story for anything. Prohibition didn't stop the party, it changed the packaging. 23. Malt extract was sold as baking syrup, not beer. A baking ingredient became suspicious because it looked like beer's beginning. Malt extract stayed legal, sold as syrup for bread and candy. Grocery stores stacked cans beside flour, pretending nothing else mattered. Everyone knew malt could feed yeast, and yeast could make alcohol. So regulators watched malt sales spike whenever raids hit nearby. Some companies printed cautious instructions, focusing on cakes, not brewing. Home kitchens smelled like bread, yet neighbors suspected something stronger. Agents couldn't ban it outright, because bakers genuinely needed malt. That's how dessert supplies became part of the Prohibition puzzle. 24. Buying hops and yeast was legal, brewing was not. You could buy yeast and hops, then get arrested for beer. Stores sold brewing ingredients openly because the items had normal uses. Bakers needed yeast, and cooks used hops for herbal remedies. But in Milwaukee, those same purchases screamed one thing: homebrew. Prohibition agents watched supply shops, noting who bought too much. Some customers split orders between stores, trying to look harmless. Others actually baked bread, then got questioned anyway by suspicious cops. The law couldn't ban ingredients, so it policed intentions instead. That made every grocery run feel like a small interrogation. 25. Hardware stores sold still gear, while distilling stayed illegal. Plumbing parts became suspicious because they looked like moonshine tools. Hardware stores kept selling copper tubing, coils, and big kettles. Officially, it was for plumbing, farms, and legal industrial work. But in the Ozarks, buyers asked questions that sounded too specific. Shop owners learned to stay polite because customers might be agents. Revenue men sometimes followed carts, then raided barns miles away. When they found a still, they photographed it like a murder weapon. Meanwhile, the store still couldn't refuse selling normal household goods. So, a wrench set could start a chain ending in court. 26. Vinegar companies needed alcohol permits and drew bootleggers. Vinegar makers got pulled into booze policing, whether they liked it. To make vinegar, you start with alcohol, then let it sour. During Prohibition, vinegar plants needed permits for their starting alcohol. Bootleggers targeted those shipments because the source looked respectable. In places like Pittsburgh, trucks vanished between rail yards and factories. Managers hired guards, while agents inspected vats for missing volumes. Some thieves swapped labels, turning vinegar stock into street liquor. When a plant got robbed, honest workers faced suspicion first. So even sour vinegar became part of the sweet bootleg economy. 27. Jamaica ginger was made prescription only to stop booze use. Thousands ended up limping forever after drinking a medicine. Jamaica ginger, nicknamed Jake, stayed legal as a patent remedy. It contained strong alcohol, so people used it like bootleg liquor. Officials tried clamping down by requiring prescriptions and nasty additives. In 1930, contaminated Jake caused Jake leg paralysis nationwide. A manufacturer used STAP, a plasticizer, to pass government tests. Victims in the South developed a strange, high-stepping, floppy-foot walk. Doctors traced it back, but many people never fully recovered. And the loophole backfired, leaving a medical disaster behind. 28. Patent tonics stayed legal if they tasted too bitter. If it tasted terrible, it could stay on shelves legally. Patent tonics and bitters often contained alcohol, sold as health cures. Brands like Hostetter's Bitters and Lydia Pinkham stayed widely recognizable. People claimed they needed digestion help, then poured big doses. Some tonics were so bitter that chugging them felt like punishment. That bitterness became a legal shield because lawmakers called it medicine. Formations watched repeat customers return daily, suddenly unwell again. Enforcers tried crackdowns, but companies changed labels faster than rules. So the medicine aisle became a speakeasy, minus the music. 29. Rum Row began just outside the 3-mile limit. Offshore, a floating city of booze appeared beyond the horizon. Smugglers anchored on Rum Row, just outside the 3-mile limit. Near New York, ships waited off Long Island and Nantucket. Captain Bill McCoy sold the real McCoy straight unwatered liquor. Fast boats dashed in at night, dodging Coast Guard cutters. In 1924, enforcement stretched farther, pushing the line toward 12 miles. Smugglers moved again, and the chase simply got longer. Radios crackled, bribes flew, and barrels vanished into fog. Rum Row proved geography could outsmart morality, at least briefly. 30. Booze cruises served drinks once ships left U.S. waters. A party boat became legal the moment the shoreline shrank. So-called booze cruises sailed from New York and Boston with thirsty crowds. Onboard bars stayed quiet until the ship crossed the legal line. Then corks popped, jazz started, and everyone cheered like kids. Crew members watched clocks because serving early could mean seizure. Some passengers tried sneaking sips, and stewards warned them softly. Federal agents sometimes met boats at the dock, counting empty bottles. The trips were short, but the stories lasted for years. It was Prohibition tourism, pay a ticket, buy temporary freedom. 31. Some ocean liners sealed liquor cabinets before reaching port. First-class passengers drank champagne mid-ocean, then watched it get locked. Transatlantic liners kept liquor on board because they sailed under foreign flags. But before docking in New York, stewards sealed cabinets in storerooms. On ships like Cunard's Aquitania, the change felt sudden and strict. Crew posted notices, and bartenders stopped pouring, even for tips. Some travelers tried begging the purser, offering cash for one last drink. Others hid bottles, then panicked at customs inspections on arrival. The weirdest part was, drinking was fine yesterday, illegal today. Ocean rules changed at the shoreline, like a switch flipping. 32. Importing liquor into America was illegal, even in luggage. Travelers lost pricey bottles at customs, even as souvenirs. Importing liquor into the United States was illegal during national prohibition. That included bottles in luggage, trunks, and shipboard personal supplies. At New York piers, inspectors opened suitcases like treasure hunters. Some tourists claimed it was for gifts and got nothing back. Wealthy passengers sometimes tried bribing, risking bigger charges if caught. Meanwhile, smugglers hid liquor on ships, but seizures still made headlines. The law treated border crossings like crime scenes, not vacations. So a simple bottle of brandy could start a federal case. 33. Federal agents patrolled lakes and rivers for hidden booze. Night water turned dangerous as patrol lights swept across waves. The Detroit River became a highway between Windsor and Detroit. In winter, rum runners drove cars over ice, like a shortcut. Coast Guard crews chased boats, while Canadian shores stayed brightly lit. Smugglers used false compartments, but patrols learned the tricks quickly. A sudden fog bank could save a load, or doom it. Seizures piled up, and newspapers nicknamed routes like secret trails. The water border proved harder to police than any city street.